Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
Okay, I got my numbers, John. Here, I found them, okay? The P-51 Mustang, its first test flight was in October of 1940. It didn't go into service with only the Royal Air Force, like I talked about the fact that originally the Americans turned up their nose at it and they went to the RAF. And in 1942, from 1942, the P-51 Mustang was built from 1942 till 1945. 15,000 of them made in 3 years. The F-15 Eagle by McDonnell/Boeing right here in St. Louis, been in production for 51 years. 1,200 of them, okay? The interesting thing about this is, and I don't want to get too much into this weird because you think I'm going off the deep end, was it the Eisenhower just left the Red Sea and was being constantly under attack by the Houthis, and the one of the admirals says they have not seen this much action by an aircraft carrier since World War II. And part of the reason is the Houthis are not flying F-35s or F-16s. They're flying DJI drones that have been weaponized with explosives on it. They're firing homemade rockets. It's the same thing like in Gaza. They steal the plumbing out of the houses. They pack it with gunpowder. They put a rocket engine on the back and they fire it off. It's asymmetrical warfare, and that's where I think we are in terrible situation because of the fact that, and it's to the point where I've talked to some of my military friends, they just think I'm nuts. And I go like, okay, why don't we go back and produce the P-51 Mustang and produce like 30,000 of them, and to the point where if Iran gets out of whack, we say, hey, guess what? We got 30,000 P-51 Mustangs, and they're all remote control. We don't even have pilots anymore. If you don't do what we tell you to do, we're going to send 20,000 of them to you for the next 3 days, and each one has got a bomb on each wing, and guess what's going to happen? We're just going to carpet bomb your country. So, straighten up and fly right. Get what I'm saying? But no.
I do.
Anyway. Okay.
Well, and so now for the folks that are taking notes on this, and you might want to flag this for Agnes, when you say Hootie, it's spelled differently than Hootie and the Blowfish, right?
No, it's actually
H-O-U-T-H-I.
No, it's actually
an important distinction.
No. It's actually the same people. Hootie and the Blowfish were upset about the fact that they are not getting the respect they wanted. So what they've done is they've taken over a country, and what they're doing is they're sending their drones and things like that because nobody plays their records on the radio anymore, and they were upset about that because of the fact that
I bet they are.
Right.
Well, you know what? First of all, Brad, I only want to be with you.
But
secondly, are you saying they're causing a Darius Rucker?
Yeah, they are. They're causing a Darius Rucker. But most importantly, they decided they're going to get tremendous visibility, and they bought television in St. Louis and Kansas City markets, and they're piggybacking their ads back to back with Bill Eigel commercials.
They're going to move numbers if they do that, Brad. But there'll be some radio guy out there that's like, yeah, but they're not advertising anywhere. If it's not on my station, it's nowhere.
Who is that radio guy?
I think his name is Egbert. I think that's what it is.
Okay, you walked right into this one. Okay, one of my friends who has always been sort of, and matter of fact, interesting story. I told her when she's retired for several years now. I told her, number one cause of death in the United States is retirement. Her and her boyfriend are like just, they're always on Facebook. I mean, name me a place in the United States they haven't been in the past 5 or 6 years since she's been retired. But anyway, her and I started because I used to work with her. She was actually a media buyer for an agency that I shall remain nameless, and her and I were made friends. And so yesterday, she sends me this article, which is sort of interesting. It's Forbes magazine. Now, and I'm going to talk about this, and some people may be upset about this and maybe not know about this, and it pains me to talk about this because it hurts the radio image in general. The company here in St. Louis, Audacy, Audacy, which owns 97.1 and KMOX and Y98 and KZK, is in bankruptcy. Technically, they're out of bankruptcy. And the person that came in to buy all the radio stations out of bankruptcy is, guess who?
Yeah, or his initials GS.
George Soros.
And not Goldman Sachs.
Right, not Goldman Sachs, George Soros. And here's the interesting thing. The problem is that they're technically out of bankruptcy, but yet the FCC has not approved the sale of Audacy out of bankruptcy to George Soros. And I read you the first paragraph. It says, billionaire globalist George Soros is seeking the help of the Democrat-controlled Federal Communications Commissions as he works to fast-track taking over the country's second biggest radio network. According to a New York Post article, Soros pumped $400 million to the radio outlet called Audacy in February. They said the network reaches 165 million monthly listeners and includes a handful of conservative shows from the hosts including Sean Hannity, Dana Lash, Mark Levin, Glenn Beck, and Eric Erickson. And right here in St. Louis, it includes Mark Cox, the local people, Mark Cox, Annie Frey, Mark Reardon, and various other people. Okay. A source with knowledge of the deal told the news outlet that the idea that, quote, Soros is buying hundreds of local radio stations right before a national election and will keep broadcasting Sean Hannity and other conservative talk hosts on Audacy is not credible. Soros Fund Management needs help from the FCC to take control of the network as the money funneled into buying the bankrupt networks comes from abroad, which is interesting. And I don't think he's an American citizen either. Under existing FCC rules, foreign company ownership of radio stations in the United States is not allowed to exceed 25%, but a filing acquired by the Post included a request from Soros asking the commission to make an exception. So he's bringing foreign money, and I believe he is not an American citizen, and he's asking for a dispensation to allow the FCC to grant his control of the radio stations. Now, think about that for a minute. And Audacy is the company that bought the old CBS network. So you have all the big talk stations. You have KRLD in Dallas. You have KMOX here in St. Louis and 97.1. Think about what you hear in 97.1 and think about if George Soros owned that station. Do you see a little bit of a problem with that?
No, I don't, Brad, because I have spent the last 7 glorious months on the radio with a man that talks about how we need more investment and more attention to radio, the vitality of radio, and the role that it plays in our communities and our country. And I think anyone who wants to invest in the radio industry is welcome, Brad.
Well, John, I disagree with you because what it does is see, the Communications Act of 1934 was amended in 1996, I believe it was, 1996. And they threw out the ownership cap. It used to be for years and years, for decades, for 50, 60 years, you could own 14 stations in the United States, 7 AM, 7 FM. That was it. And most of the big boys like KMOX, CBS, and Westinghouse, and RCA, and the big boys like that, they own an AM and FM in each of the major markets, which was they had here in St. Louis. Once upon a time, think about it, back in the day when CBS was a big powerhouse, they chose St. Louis as one of their 7 markets to be in because they can only be in 7 markets, okay? Do you think right now, if someone said you can be in 7 markets in the United States, do you think they'd pick St. Louis today?
Yeah, if they were looking at homicide numbers, sure. If they wanted to target the crime community, Brad. And you know what? I heard that George Soros is investing in cognitive behavioral therapy, which is why he's really looking at these Audacy stations here. Well, he's going to turn 97.1 into pure cognitive therapy. My friend, once again, who sent me this article was like, okay, explain to me what's going on with this. And I go, well, think about it for a minute. He's this guy that wants to control. He's already controlling the DAs. Remember, he got Kim Gardner in office. He gave her tons of money. Nurse Kim Gardner. And where is Agnes on that? Why can't we show respect to Kim Gardner's medical background?
Because she's not a doctor.
Well, not yet. How do you know, Brad? Have you checked her papers?
I have.
I mean, you can't say that around Democrats now or else they'll accuse you of being anti-immigrant. But have you seen Kim's papers? Maybe she's actually passed and she's a nurse now.
I went out to dinner with her last night. Matter of fact, funny you should mention that.
You did? Oh, you went down to that gay restaurant, but it was closed. Because of Andrew Bailey. Way to go, Andrew.
By the way, Andrew Bailey triple play. Okay, Andrew Bailey. Andrew Bailey's on 97.1 yesterday morning. He's on with Mark Cox. He's on yesterday afternoon with Mark Reardon. And then last night, he's on the national show with Dana Lash on, once again, which is carried on 97.1. I'm going like, does this guy ever work? Is he just on?
He missed a quadruple play, Brad. Sorry to interrupt, but he was on Pete Mundo's show in Kansas City yesterday. He was in studio, I believe, I think he was in studio.
Does he work, or is he just like the media guy? And here's the interesting thing. You being a former comms guy for Monsanto, doesn't he have a comms guy or a comms gal who would say, oh, I'll go on these talk shows and talk for you? No, I'm going to do it myself. But you're the Attorney General.
He's facing election. I almost said re-election, but he's never been elected. He's facing election, Brad. And also, if I'm a radio host, I don't want to have some comms flack on. I want to hear from the man himself. And in Andrew Bailey's defense, he has a huge staff of attorneys that actually handle the day-to-day. You need Bailey for an hour in the morning to set the tone, to hop on a call, and maybe you need him 30 minutes in the afternoon to get everybody together, to give everybody a status check. Other attorneys in there, deputy attorneys general, and others are doing the actual work. You don't need an executive. You don't, and I don't care what Mike Rowe says, you don't need an executive out there at Ameren. I don't want the Ameren CEO repairing a line in the storm, Brad. I want him making business decisions. I don't want Andrew Bailey sitting down with a legal brief going line by line. I want him to be able to delegate, and I want him on Pete Mundo's show.
See, John, this is why this is a great show, because you and I disagree. I say I will never forget the guy who was the CEO of Southwest Airlines. Herb Kelleher, okay? One of the things that made Herb Kelleher this tremendously popular CEO of the employees at Southwest is routinely on Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day, Herb would randomly show up in an airport around the country and go on the tarmac and help the guys load baggage into the 737s. Okay? Think about that. This guy is a multimillionaire. He's taking his holiday. He's working shoulder to shoulder with the working class dudes and dudettes by busting luggage off a conveyor into the cargo hold of a 737. That guy, to me, as far as if I'm working for that guy walks on water. If that guy says, show up at work every day with your face painted green, I show up every day with my face painted green. That's just the point, you know? I hear what you're saying, but once again, you have to set an example. And quite honestly, taking this to the big picture thing, I think that this is where Biden is making a huge mistake, because look at what Trump's doing. Trump's going to these places and campaigning in areas where people go, I can't believe he's in the Bronx. I can't believe he's in Pennsylvania. I can't believe he's rubbing elbows with the working class. And where's Joe Biden? Has not been in the White House since last Thursday. He's holed up at Camp David preparing for the debate tomorrow night. I think that sends the exact wrong, but see, once again, I'm a news nerd. I know this. You ask the average person, they don't even, they might not even know who Joe Biden is. Joe Biden, does he own a car dealership? You know what I mean?
No, that's Mike Kehoe. And you know what? People know that because in the 90s, he ran a lot of television, Brad. Look into it. Also, speaking about the debate, St. Louis area young Republicans are having a big get-together, a debate watch party, Brad. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's in Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge. 7 p.m. You can go to stlyrs.org to look for that, or look up St. Louis Republicans on Facebook. I'm not a Facebook guy, but allegedly they have a Facebook page, and they're having a debate watch party. I believe in Southwest Missouri, the Southwest Missouri young Republicans are also having a debate watch party, Brad. And I also think that 97.1 has their own thing. Somebody said something about Dave and Buster's. Have you, by the way, on Annie Frey's show, have you ever gone to their YouTube page and looked at their YouTube page?
I have. You don't like it?
Why don't you like it?
It's okay.
I love the fact – well, here's where I disagree. Like I linked to the Will Scharf interview, and I put some timestamps on there. And I love the fact that on Annie Frey's show, they have the discussion on the right-hand side.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And they have a community, and people can argue with each other and ask questions. So they were reading questions to Will Scharf about, hey, are you wearing cowboy boots? Like, I love the fact that they have an interactive thing going on during their show.
John, can I tell you something you don't want to hear? And
I want to hear it.
And I'm debating if I want to do this or not. I'm looking at an email that I received just Monday from Tricia Everding. You know who Tricia Everding is?
I know.
Trisha Everding is, it says right here, she's the assistant brand manager, executive producer for 97.1 FM Talk. And the email says, Dear Brad, thank you for RSVPing for our debate watch party. We look forward to seeing you there.
Are you serious?
I got a spot tomorrow, 6, and it's sold out, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Dave & Buster's.
Nice. You know, in the conversation in the chat on the Annie Frey Show yesterday, people were talking about it, and people were going back and forth, and they're like, "You got a spot? I thought they were sold out." And one guy says he was going to J6 it, which I love. You know, he's just going to show up and crash it.
So
hey, I think it's great. And one more thing, I'll say one more positive thing about 97.1, or I should say specifically, I can't say about 97.1, but Annie Frey. Annie Frey is the type of person that, you know, I link to her show. I'll include a link to them on Twitter. There are a lot of people in the radio industry, Brad, and you have lived through this for decades, who can't be bothered to acknowledge when you link to them, when you do something to support their effort. Annie Frey has been one of those people who can indeed be gracious enough to say thank you, to say, hey, look at what these folks are doing for us. And you get a sense when you go through their comment thread and you listen to her show that really is a community. Like, they really do listen to Brad. It's kind of like if we had a dozen people, you know, people that harangue you about all my mistakes. If that was like a live stream during the show, I don't know. I just think it's cool. I think that's something that I have noticed that sets Annie Frey apart from a lot of other people in the radio industry. 97.1
is the textbook example of a successful radio station that has made their listeners feel like they're part of the club, so to speak. And
yes.
Another perfect example of that is Keishi. Keishi is a very successful radio station because of the fact that it's almost like, hey, I'm a Keishi listener, and that tells people that you like rock and roll, that you like that lifestyle, the whole bit like that. And see, here's the interesting thing. When I first heard them announce this, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to see if I can get a reservation for that. And I went online and I sent and put my name in. I never got anything back. And I thought to myself, well, I guess I didn't make it. Well, I just got this Monday. Now, if Shelley were here, if Shelley were on the air with me right now, matter of fact, you know, should I call her?
We only got 2 minutes left. She's not going to answer. We don't need to call her.
Well, can't I at least try? Come on, John.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. We'll get her voicemail.
You think? Hold on a minute. Here. Hold on a minute. Well, hold on. There she is, right there. Okay, I'm calling her. Okay, one ringy dingy.
Hello, Brad Hildebrand.
You're on the air, so no bad mouth, okay?
No regular talking.
Yeah, no F-bombs or S-bombs like you normally do. Okay, this is Shelley Barr. Shelley,
it is.
You are just on the air, and I want your opinion on this because you're going to parrot back to me what I have told you, one of my precepts about the radio business. I got accepted to go to the 97.1 debate watch party tomorrow night at Dave & Buster's, okay? What did I always...
Are you taking me?
No, I'm not taking you. It was only just me.
What?
Okay, no, okay. What have I always told you? One of my things that I never do, what I never would do. Another radio station. Remember, we talked about this a bunch of times.
You wouldn't,
Come on, this is not tough.
Brad, you do know who you're talking to, right? Please.
Is this Miss Holes in the Frontal Lobes, Shelley Barr?
Miss Jackson, if you're nasty.
Okay, what did I always say about competing radio stations that I would never do?
Well, you wouldn't hijack their
I wouldn't crash their events. Remember we talked about this?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. You wouldn't hijack their event.
Okay.
There was another word you used, but yes.
Right. Okay. So should I go?
And I've lived by that.
Should I go to the watch party tomorrow night at 97.1 at Dave & Buster's, or should I not? Tell me.
Who invited you?
I signed up. They talked about this online. You went online. You went on their website, and you put your name and address in, your phone number, and your email address. And then just Monday, I got the thing saying, "Hey, you are SVP. You can come Monday or Thursday night." So should I go or not?
Yes.
I should go.
Yes, just to kind of see, not to cause problems,
I'm not
because
gonna
you know
cause a
there's going to be
Well, you know, I've
people who are not.
I have friends of mine that work over there. So, you know, and I know some of the people over there. Matter of fact,
Well, then go.
Mark Reardon, who claims he's a friend of mine, he won't have lunch with me though, but that's a whole nother story. Okay, so you say go. So
Just because he doesn't like Freddy's.
what's that song? Should I stay or should I go?
Should I go?
Da, 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 da. Okay.
Should I stay or should I go?
Are you feeling okay today, Shelley?
I am.
Shelley, you know what? Lunch
What?
on at Freddy's on me. It's on me today. Okay.
Well, that's because every time I go to Freddy's, it is on you.
Right. And guess what? I'm
What?
kidding because I'm not going to Freddy's today. Okay. So have a good day, Shelley.
So, are you taking me out to lunch or not?
I'm not.
Oh,
Okay.
well, then why did you call me?
Because I wanted to see what you would do with crashing the 97.1 party. Okay.
Yes, I understand that. And I have actually held truth to that. You never crash another person's. It's called something else, but yes.
Well, I got invited to Tracy's grand opening, and she actually complimented me, and that's the last time she's ever talked to me. So.
Did you go?
Yeah, I went. She complimented me. She thanked me. Oh, and Brad Hildebrand's helped me out so much. And the next day,
Well, you have. You taught her everything she knows.
the next day I started my car and it wouldn't start, and I heard tick tick tick, and I called the bomb squad. Oh my God, there's a bomb in your car, Brad.
Oh, you did not.
Just kidding. Okay,
It
bye.
wouldn't have been her anyway.
We got to go,
Don't get me
Shelley.
started.
We got to go.
Oh,
Say goodbye.
bye. Bye, John. Hugs and kisses.
Hugs and kisses there, John.
You know, I didn't think she would answer, Brad.
John, you see, if Tracy would have called her, she would have answered right away. I mean, she wouldn't have been in the first ring, but since I called her, I think it rang, 3 or 4 times before she picked up. She's like, do I want to talk to him or not? Oh.
Where else can you hear the former co-hosts of the BS show get a doctoral dissertation on the P-51 Mustang and a deep dive on the Communications Act of 1934, if not in C block, Brad? We have it all.
John,
It's like Bell's Factory Outlet Mall. Brad's got it all.
say goodbye, John.
See you guys tomorrow.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?